Hello and welcome back in Witcher painting series, this time Yghern. As you can see, I couldn't resist and use some AI to put my model with some cool background, so forgive me if you don't like that stuff, one-time episode. Back to the model itself, again prime with black, and we're gonna put some nice color on it. The first one is XV88, and we put this color of the bark of our trunk. The model itself, comparing to the other one, have a very good access to all the areas that we need to paint. However, it's a time-consuming mini, as this monster have quite a lot of tiny little legs, and that extend the painting process for this model. But I think the effect towards the end is pretty cool, so bear with me. Our next color, the Screaming Skull, and then we put a little bit of the brighter tone of those part of the timber without a bark. Also, to add some texture to that pine trunk, I decided to paint some lines on it. Then we're gonna put some wash, so that will create a nice texture. So our first tone again is the Screaming Skull. It's a bright tone, but we also add some darker tone, some brown colors as well. So as I mentioned, the Mourfang brown is our second tone, and we repeat the process of drawing the lines all over that timber trunk. Just don't forget to put a few bits and bobs here and there in between the tiny legs as well. Next, we're gonna mix some Rhinox hide with the purple color, the Naggaroth Night, and with that color that will be the base tone for the monster legs and a little bit of the body under the armor. And again, this is a very long process, as there is quite a few of those to be painted, and again, we don't want to destroy our work that we done previously, so we have to be quite neat at this time. So just spend some time and do it correctly. I also use this paint as a base paint for the wee claws and the head of our Yghern. For the armor, similar process, but I put in it only on the main part, so I'm using the sponge. I want those recesses to remain black. So this is how the model presenting so far, and next we're gonna do a bit of a shading. I'm starting off with the trunk, and I'm using the color called the Reikland fleshshade. And again, once you cover all I put a little bit of the Agrax earthshade, which is a very kind of dark brown, but again I put it randomly in some spots. I do not cover the whole lot of the model with it, so we have kind of like two different shades of brown at this point. We'll give it some time to wash, to dry off, and then we're gonna move on. This time we're gonna be putting some contrast paint. It's a Palid Bone, which create a kind of nice brownish effect towards the end. And I use this as a kind of like a third shade of wash after the previous two. We're gonna do a little bit more work, and this time I don't want to have this color going over the armor too much, so I'm mixing the purple with the red. The red is the Mephiston red from Citadel, now called Warhammer paints, and we put in a quick method of brighten up the legs by using the dry brushing technique. Again, I added a little bit more in the second pass, so we kind of creating a bit brighter red tone. Again, we're gonna finish it off with very bright, even towards the orange, but we're doing it step by step, so we have a nice transition in between those colors from purple to orange. A very gentle touch on those wee tips of those legs with the ivory, just to brighten up, while there is a little bit of red still on the brush. And again, we're going back to the red again and repeat the process. And our next shade, the red, the brighter tone comparing to the Mephiston red, just to bring it up a little bit. As you can see, I'm using the fine brush now in those areas that it's hard to reach, and the tiny nails. Next, we move into the armor, in this case the Macragge blue, and again, as you can see, I'm using the makeup sponge, which I think worked perfectly for that. So we keep the transition between the very black recesses on those armor plates. Then we have a little bit of our previous mix of purple and brown, and then we cover the rest with the blue. We will be adding a lighter tone to that blue later on, but as you can see, I also using some masking tape because the sponge seemed to go over the designated area. So if you want to keep the other parts clean from the blue, very highly recommended to cover those if you're using the sponge technique. As you can see, I add Sotek green, which is kind of like a turquoise shade, to our blue, and adding more and more in a couple of stages, and cover majority of the top part of the armor with the brighter tone. Now I'm adding the the ivory into our blue or turquoise, and again we want a little bit less paint every time, so you can simply remove the excess amount of paint on a kitchen towel or simply printing paper, just to keep just a little bit of the paint on the sponge, and then simply stamp that from the top to create a nice and smooth transition. As you can see now, we start getting the right shade. The final touches will be adding a little bit of white, and as you can see, I literally very gently put it on the top. Just to bring those top parts of the armor far brighter than the rest, so we have a nice kind of like a transition from shadow to the light. Some Rhinox hide with dry brushing here and there on the trunk, and again, you know, you might cover some mistakes from the armor painting if you made some. Then some corrections on the forehead as a little bit blue move over there while we were doing the stapling. And Trollslayer orange will be our brightest tone on the head and the legs. And again, with this paint, we'll literally cover the edges gently to bring some brightest contrast tone to our mini. And again, we have to do it in a couple of stages, couple of thin layers always work better than one thick one, so you're not gonna go over any details, you're not gonna sink them in the paint, so just spend some time to do it correctly, and I think the result will be very good towards the end. And now with the fine brush, tiny little touches here and there on those legs, a little bit on the head with the pure orange. Next, pure white for the eye pupils and the mouth, but as you can see later, I'm not gonna leave it like that, I'm not gonna leave it with white. I put a little bit of orange over that, just to create a kind of very bright orange color effect. Also with the white, a couple of the edges of the armor on the top part of the model, only just to show some light reflect on those. And as I mentioned previously, you know, a little bit of the very watered orange on those white highlights. Next, we're gonna move to our base. In this case, we're gonna use the Typhus corrosion first, straight from the can, and then we're gonna mix it with a little bit of our XV88 while the paint is still wet, so we kind of blend those here and there. The green wash, Biel-tan green, again here and there on the trunk, just to create kind of like a moss grown effect on the bark. And again, you not cover the whole trunk, just a little bit on those bottom parts of the timber. And with our Mourfang brown, we do a little bit of dry brushing on the base just to create more texture. And again, you might use a little bit of XV88 here and there for some more contrast. I have planned to put some plants on it, so I want kind of like a soil effect on it. The rim as usual on my Monster German Grey, and then as I mentioned, some different kind of plants. The Toussaint area is very colorful and I want to create that kind of effect. So this is the model pretty much ready. It's time consuming, but I think the effect is pretty cool towards the end. So if you do like it, please don't forget to subscribe the channel, thumb up this video, and I hope to see you soon at the next video. One more to go from Core Box. Thank you. Bye.